Namaste, dear listeners. Welcome to the Iowa channel, Ashto In with Abhi, Oneness in Astrology and Spirituality, bringing in awareness by Abhi. Today we're going to talk about Bhakti Yoga. I have done many sessions on this. I have done sessions on the TikTok live. I've also written many articles on this here. You can always find them. There's different versions of them. But fundamentally, it all boils down to devotion. And there's many different ways to devote yourself in terms of what you're devoting yourself to. So, thank you so much for all the lovely support. I read all the messages and I value them. So, Bhakti Yoga, what is Bhakti Yoga? In order to understand what Bhakti Yoga is, we first have to understand what Bhakti is. Bhakti is devotion, it's love, it's connection, it's building a connection, it's a union or becoming conscious too. And yoga is becoming one with. So bhakti means devotion or devotee. It is devoting yourself to something, or in this case here, higher consciousness. And yoga is finding oneness between you and that, becoming one with. So it's a very simple explanation, because from the word bhakti and from the word yoga, it means you becoming one with through the use of devotion or love. So, for example, if I'm connecting to my higher power, and for me, my higher power is the sun, in order for me to build a relationship with the sun, I need to understand what the sun's characteristics are. What is the relationship between me and the sun? Otherwise, how do you build a relationship with somebody? If you have to build a relationship with, let's just say, if you're a guy and you want to build a relationship with a female, and you've seen this particular female and you have a keen interest in her. Now, to build such a relationship with her, you gotta understand her likes, her dislikes. You gotta build that connection now, isn't it? You gotta understand her nature. You gotta understand what development areas are there in her. You gotta understand what her purpose in life is. You gotta understand where her mind is at, what's her goals, where she's coming from, what her family life is like about, what's her career about. You gotta understand all of these things to build a relationship. Building a relationship means connecting to or connecting with. Now, to build a relationship with your higher power, let's use, for example, the higher power, or my higher power is the sun. I first have to understand what the sun's characteristics are. Immediately, we all can agree that the sun never changes. The sun will always give us light and heat. You will know the sun is always giving us that warmth. And through the grace of the sun, we've got the plants that are growing, we've got trees that are growing, we've got fruit that comes from trees. We eat the plants, animals eat the plants, we get food. Simply, without the sun, life is impossible. So immediately, I know that life is possible through the grace of the sun. So, firstly, I bow down to the sun. This is building a relationship. And every day I connect to the sun. Thank you so much, for life is only possible through your grace. And this is not a belief, this is a fact. Without the sun, you can do this experiment at home. You can take a glass jar, or not even a glass jar, you can put something under your garage to grow. Cover all the light and see whether that will grow. That plant will die in darkness because it needs sunlight. So sunlight is life-giving. Sunlight is life itself. Sun is light itself. Sun is life itself. So I can build a relationship with the sun by reminding myself every day, by connecting with the sun and reminding myself that sun, you are life-giving. You are providing warmth, heat, and light. And through your grace, life is possible. Without your presence in this world, life is impossible, not just for the plants, animals, and trees. Life is impossible for all forms of life existence. That depends on the sun. And for me personally, based on my awareness, all life species depend on the sun. Right? unless you are beyond the material dimension. And if you are living in the astral dimension, then this is another story. But here we are spirit. We have dropped from the spirit realm, we have dropped into matter, therefore we've got the body. So therefore we need the sun. Now, to build a relationship with the sun, you have to understand its duty, its dharma, its characteristics, and its value into your life, or with all forms of life. Similar to this here, Bhakti Yoga means to build a relationship with your higher power, becoming one with, realizing its value to you. And similarly, you seeing your presence in that, a small particle of you in that big, massive mass. And you will start to see this here gradually over a considerable period of time from building such a relationship. This is Bhakti Yoga. From there, you start to see the sun's presence in all aspects of life. You start to see it in the sand. You start to see it in the air. You start to see the presence of sun everywhere. Why? Because if you look at all materials in its raw form, everything in its raw form requires sun. So therefore, everything that I see externally, within me, even within, everything is a consequence of the sun. This kind of knowing, not a belief, but this kind of knowing is absolutely profound, because you start to see the sun's presence in every single thing that you can possibly see. And it all starts from what? It all starts from just acknowledging the sun's presence every day. And from there, you're awakening to the sun, because now you're conscious, you're conscious to the sun daily. And when you're conscious to that dimension of existence, you become one with it. Therefore, you start to see its presence everywhere. Now, this is the same applies with your higher power. If you are connecting with Krishna, Allah, Ram, if you're connecting with your higher power, you will start to see the presence of your higher power in all beings. There's no difference. This is Bhakti Yoga. This is yoga. Through meditation, through japa chanting, through talking to your higher power, you start to build a relationship, and as a consequence, you're becoming one with. Thank you very, very much for listening to me. I hope this makes sense. This is how I got into all of this that I'm doing. This is how I managed to download so much of wisdom over a long period of time. It's all through Bhakti Yoga. It all started through Bhakti Yoga. This is over 20 years ago. Well over 20 years ago. I started through Bhakti Yoga. Actually, it's maybe about 25 years ago. So this is through the use of Bhakti Yoga, or through the karma of Bhakti Yoga, one can become aware of the whole entire universe in a handful of sand. Let's put it that way. In a handful of sand, you can see the entire cosmos. And this might sound a bit crazy, but I can promise you this much. If you spend a lot of time, or spend some time building a relationship with your higher power, do Bhakti Yoga, and you will realize the power of wisdom. Jai Shri Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Krishna, Hari Bol. Thank you.